It's not really about how much money you make or how much you don't make.
Right.
From what I've noticed, it's all how you manage that money.
Right. And God is a God of abundance. He's not a God that wants you to struggle and not have money, right? So that's where the conversation from lots of Christians comes into play, is that money's bad, right? And they quote that verse, but they leave out the love of money, right? As soon as we started taking better care of God's money, he provided more for us. I think money is probably the easiest thing to blame your spouse for. Irrelevant in probably 80 to 90% of financial struggles, is the amount of money you're making. It's how you're behaving with your money that's really the issue.
And even, things may be tight, but if you're communicating about it, I think that takes a lot of the stress off too, because you're in it together and it's not just you dealing with it.
Money is a huge stress in a lot of marriages, and it is the leading cause of divorce. Pure and simple.
And I think that just goes because people don't communicate about it. Right? They come into a marriage and don't tell each other what they have for debt, and they don't know how to get out of debt, and just puts a lot of stress and secrets and takes the passion out of the marriage. And
my first marriage, we fought about money a lot.
In my first marriage, we went into bankruptcy.
So
that's always fun.
Figured out how to manage it correctly, that our marriage kind of went to that next level. Right. Yeah, I mean, managing money is about communication too, right? So you guys have to talk to each other. It can't just be one person that's doing this, right? So tell your money where to go. More of it's going to flow to you.
Right.
One of the interesting stats we found over the years is 70% of Americans could not handle $1,000 emergency. But that's what they're for, is they're there to use. And they're there so it doesn't stress your marriage out. That's why it's the number one cause of divorce, is because emergencies happen, whether we want them to or whether we expect them or not. Bad stuff's going to happen at some point, especially if you have a house, especially if you have cars, if you have kids. I mean, emergencies are going to happen whether you want them or not.
Yep.
So the thing is to be prepared, right? It's kind of just in general, to have a passion-filled marriage, you have to be intentional with your money. You have to be intentional with how you treat your spouse, all those types of things. And this is one of those steps of being intentional. Well, and the other thing it does is it changes your behavior with money. And if you're married, or, if you make more than $20,000, your emergency fund should be $1,000. Everybody thinks, oh, I made a budget, so that tells me what I don't have and what I don't get to do. Right? That's what everybody thinks. But
we got to change our way of thinking.
Right, because it really gives you permission to spend money. Right?
If you have the money in the budget, that line item, then you can spend it.
Right.
Once again, gave us freedom to spend.
Right. That's the big thing, is it gave us that freedom, right? It gave us permission to enjoy the night however we chose to enjoy it. I mean, we're not saying this out of a place of we've always done this, right? We're saying this out of a place we've learned the hard way, right? Once we started naming it and telling it where to go, it behaves better. Right? Same thing with
we behaved better.
Right?
We behaved better.
Your kids behave better when you tell them what to do.
And in a marriage, it's our money, right? His goes into our checking account, mine goes into our checking account.
It teaches you to be good stewards of God's money, right? God provides the resources for us, and it's our jobs as Christians to utilize them correctly. And that is not correctly at all.
Right. And in that same study, it said, the more debt you had, the more likely you were to argue about money, because it puts such a strain on your marriage.
The thing is when you do get married and you have the debt, it's not my debt and your debt.
It's our debt.
It's our debt.
The stress of wondering if you're going to make it to the next month or the next paycheck. it just frees you to have that love and that passion. And, you just release that stress and you can enjoy the intimacy so much more.
Right.
Proverbs 15:22. Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed.
I like that one.
I like that one because if you don't talk to your spouse, then somebody's going to get mad.
Right.
Or something's going to be forgotten or whatever. So it's always good to plan with your spouse. Like I said, if we're not on the same page, then, he's thinking one thing and we're going to do this, and I'm thinking another thing and I want to do this. And then we're going to be upset with each other, and that doesn't make for very good passion.
And let's face it, we're really busy in all our lives, right? And we have a ton of stuff to get done during the week. You have to plan accordingly in order for you to be successful at it, right? So,
and if you plan, you get more things done, so you have more time to make love. What our houses look like sometimes because you have things everywhere and kids have tons of toys and they only ever play with like 3 or 4 and they never play with all the new things they get. So sometimes the things can really overrun your home, I think, to cause stress too.
Right. For sure. Yeah. I mean, we're taking, the possessions and the gifts and all that kind of stuff over your happiness and your financial future and what you can do the rest of the year is going to disconnect you and your spouse. There's just no way that that's not going to. We've talked frequently about money being one of the leading causes of divorce, and this is where a lot of the money problems start, is from Christmas.
Yep.
Because everybody just wants to give gifts and spend. And I mean, if you like giving gifts, that's great, but you got to learn how to control those gifts a little bit and how much you're giving.
And again, right, kids are always going to want a lot of things. That's just kids at Christmas, but we have to be the adults to be like, setting the limits, which doesn't hurt them, not one bit.
So yeah, I mean, that was a big thing. That first Christmas we paid cash for everything. That was just like so amazing. I mean, I just can't describe that. It was just...
You enjoy it a little bit more.
You enjoyed it because you knew you didn't have to deal with the repercussions come January, right? It was like...